this is Linda Cohn from ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
Another edition of the ML Sports Platter, all over the major platforms. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. We're brought to you by Bryant and Stratton College, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, and our great friends over at Camillus Golf Club. Make sure you go play Camillus this summer if you're in and around the great state of New York. Camillus looks great, man. The views are amazing. The green's in tip-top shape. Camillus Golf Club, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Before I bring in my good pal Mark Powell, the longtime strength and conditioning coach for the Syracuse Crunch in the AHL, to talk some Tampa Bay Lightning hockey, of course, the parent team of Syracuse, and some Stanley Cup playoffs. I just kind of wanted to get to the recent announcement of Coach K, saying that this upcoming season is going to be his last, and just kind of break things down where he's concerned. There's a bunch of things that I just want to rip through. Real quick, I mean, I think you could argue Mike Krzyzewski's the greatest coach of all time in men's Division I history. When you look at 5 national championships, that's where it starts, obviously. Then you go to 12 Final Fours, you go to 15 ACC tournament, championships, 12 ACC regular season championships, 3-time Coach of the Year. 1,170 wins. If he has a spectacular year this year, he could get to 1,200. I don't see Duke winning a ton of games this upcoming year. Maybe in that 20, 22, 23 range, being in the bubble picture probably. He's won 5 ACC Coach of the Year awards as well. And in the tournament, he's 97-30 in the NCAA tournament. And go check that win percentage. And he's 63-21. In the ACC tournament. Started as an assistant at Indiana, coached Army for 5 years, where he was just a phenomenal young head coach. He played under Bobby Knight before he coached Army, obviously. Was captain of that Army team in his senior season, 68-69, leading his team to the NIT at Madison Square Garden in New York City, and West Point finished 4th in the tournament. And by the way, that was when the NIT was a big deal. You didn't play in the NCAA, but you were in the NIT. It was still a big deal because the field was half the amount. The field was half. So the NIT, was no second. In a lot of cases, a few teams that didn't get to the NCAA might have been better than the teams that that did, and even teams that went deep. The NIT champion oftentimes would be considered, the 5th, 6th best team in the country when all was said and done, if not higher. So, Coach K, the career is amazing. I wanted to throw in the accolades before Duke, but when you look at, obviously Duke is where he's, that's the bread and butter, right? It's hard for people, young people, especially, and I was born in 1979, and he started at Duke in 1980. So it's not like, I was 20 years old when he started at Duke. But it's hard for for young people or people who don't follow the historical timeline of sports. It's hard for people in those buckets to understand where Duke was at, when Coach K took over. It was not good. And they were nowhere near, North Carolina, NC State. Big time, programs. And I think Duke now, since 1980, and Coach K taking over, look, Carolina, Perkins, Worthy, Jordan, into the the great teams of Eric Montross and Stackhouse and Wallace and all those clubs, mid to late 90s, etc., into the Tyler Hansborough, Ty Lawson group, into, Sean May and Rashad McCants in that group, with Roy Williams, Dean Smith, Roy Williams, Matt Doherty somewhere in there in between, had recruited pretty much all of those players, for the 05 team, I think it was. You could probably say, though, that Duke is a peg higher than Carolina. As a program, as a brand, success, it's close, I think, since Coach K took over. You'd really have to break it down inch by inch here. But like North Carolina has made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 Final Fours since Coach K. Coach K, has 12 by himself. As a head coach, Carolina went through different coaches, still made it to 13. So that's damn impressive. But here's the difference. Carolina, well, since Coach K, they've won 5. They've won 5. And when you look at the Elite Eights and the Sweet 16s and the tournament appearances, it's pretty close. Carolina has one more Final Four, so maybe I'm wrong. I was wrong on that original comment. Carolina won it all in 82, 93, 2005, 2009, and then 2017. So you could, they're neck and neck, Carolina Duke. You want to go with the all-time wins, you want to go, whatever the hair splitting is. You look at conference regular season championships, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 17, 18 since Coach K took over. And the tournament champions for the ACC, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So then when you compare it to Coach K, 10 tournament championships for Carolina, 15 for Duke. 12 regular season championships for Coach K while he was at Duke, 10 for Carolina. So they're even in national championships, the Final Fours. Coach K's been to 12, Carolina 13, so only one separates them. Do you at that point, I guess I'm going to hold that Duke is just a smidge higher. I'm going to hold to it for 2 reasons. One, Duke has become a huge, 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 huge brand. They are college basketball's namesake program. Alabama in college football, they haven't won a World Series since 2009, but the Yankees still in baseball, right? Lakers, Celtics still in basketball, probably. And the namesake brand Duke in college basketball. That's what Coach K built them into. And I think number 2, while there's one more Final Four on the North Carolina side, the ACC thing matters a lot on Tobacco Road. The North Carolina State, they're in Raleigh, but, Duke, North Carolina, and then the North Carolina State sort of outside, kind of trying to wiggle back in on a year-to-year basis. That ACC thing's a big deal. Winning regular season championships, winning the tournament, and oh, by the way, the rivalry is the best in college basketball, and it has been for a long, long time. And so because of those 2 factors, with the ACC tournament wins and regular season and the brand that Duke has become, I would smidge put him ahead of North Carolina. The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by the Al and Angus Pub, the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group, Bryant and Stratton College, and our great, great friends over at Ken's Auto Detailing. If you're in and around Central New York, get on over there to Route 11 in Cicero. Inside, outside details, wax and wash, the chrome covering, it's unbelievable. Ken and his staff are amazing. Go get your car detailed at Ken's Auto Detailing, and when you literally drive off the lot, it feels like a brand new car. Let's bring him in, talk some Tampa Bay Lightning. They are into the conference finals, talk some Stanley Cup playoffs, some conditioning this time of year as well. It is the 16-year veteran as strength and conditioning coach for the AHL and the Syracuse Crunch. He's on Twitter at BoogATC. That's at BOOGATC. And spent 31 years as an athletic trainer at East Syracuse Manoa High School. It's my good friend, Mark Powell. Hey, Mark, how are you, man? Thanks for coming on again.
Hey, thanks. I'm doing great. Got the summer going and kind of watching the playoffs.
Oh, man.
Can't beat that.
Oh, it's so good. Is this Lightning group better than last year?
Oh man, I don't know. They look pretty good right now. It's hard to tell. I guess time will tell. Last year's team has the title, so I guess we can't make that determination till all the dust settles this year.
What is going on, do you think, at this particular point? I mean, these guys, it's a long year, and they played a shorter schedule this year. They started later, et cetera. I get it because of Corona, but it's a long year. This year, other years, even in the shortened year last year with the bubble, it was more of a mental grind probably than physical. But what's happening at this juncture? You reach the conference finals. You have experience in the AHL. In the NHL, they're back trying to make another Stanley Cup championship run here. What goes on inside the walls from a conditioning standpoint to stay up at that level?
Well, it's management, really. They're not doing a ton of strength work. They're not doing a ton of, they're in shape. If they're not in shape now, they're not going to get in shape. So it's more management of the stress. You're playing basically every other day. So those off days are, you might get on the ice, work on a couple of things, but it's a lot of recovery work. With the manual therapists, with the we have your hot tubs, cold tubs, recovery boots, whatever modalities. You're just throwing recovery modalities at them. You're throwing nutrition at them. That kind of thing is where it's at.
I marvel at the hockey players. I marvel at the endurance. I marvel at the strength. And there's a guy who's playing defense for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And last time you and I talked, you can go through the roster, right? And we talked about, naming 7, 8 guys and you forget 4 because they're so right. Good. And there's so many right. Guys are so deep. But Erik Cernak, I remember when they picked him up, he was actually picked by the Kings in the second round of the 2015 draft. But I think that was in the Ben Bishop trade, right? And Stevie Yzerman made that great deal. Cernak comes over. He spent a little bit of time in Syracuse, and then he was right up, right? Because he went from, I think, Lake Erie, got the trade, everything happened. He went to the Crunch, and then, boom, he goes up to Tampa. And now he's a star. He really is. He's 6'3", 233, moves the puck, big hitter. I mean, he feels like he's played in the league for 15 years. What did you see then from him? What do you see now from him?
Well, I can go back to the combine. He came in. They bring guys in 9 at a time. He's just a man. Big shoulders,
huge guy.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
My first thing he ever said to me was he poked his head in the weight room first day he came into Syracuse, and he said, I like this. This is nice. Into the weight room. So I knew that we'd get along. And he's just a hardworking guy. Loves the weight room, loves the training, obviously can play the game, has great hockey sense. And, physically, he's just really good physically. So he skates well. He does everything well. And he's got that little edge to him that nobody's going to take liberties when he's on the ice for sure.
Mark Powell, our guest here on the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Bryant and Stratton College and Stanley Law Offices. Get him on Twitter at BoogATC, the longtime strength and conditioning coach, AHL and Syracuse Crunch. You're watching these games, though, and, I mean, the familiarity you have, with this team, with a lot of the players. I mean, what goes through your mind on a game-to-game basis? Are you watching more from, I'm a hockey fan, from a relationship standpoint, from another area? I mean, emotions have got to be running pretty high, too, because of your connection here.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I watch as a fan. I'm a fan of the team, and for obvious reasons. And then I'm a fan of these guys. They're great guys. I enjoyed working with them. And whatever little piece, 1% that I had to help them out, whatever that was. I take pride in that, and I really want these guys to excel. And so, we all. When our coaching staff and our off-ice staff sees these guys excelling at this level, we take pride in that. That's kind of what we do. That's why we do our job down here to try and get guys to go up there and then be the best they can be. So yeah, I watch as a fan. I'm not an X's and O's hockey guy. Benny and I talk about that all the time. Yeah. I know how to train hockey players, so I'm really a fan. Like my heart sinks when we go down a couple of goals, and my heart sings and soars when we go up a few goals or when we win. We're certainly we're certainly yelling, howling, screaming in our house.
That's cool. You know, the Pittsburgh Penguins won back-to-back Stanley Cups just a few years ago. It was 2016-17. And before that, you know, we had kind of off and on Blackhawk King, Bruins, Blackhawks, Penguins, Wings, Ducks, Hurricanes. You go all the way back, you know, the strike year, obviously, it was canceled in 05, 04, 05. The Lightning win it at 04 with that terrific team with Dave Andreychuk and Tortorella and all them. You know, Devils, Wings, Avalanche, Devils, Stars. What am I getting at? Well, then it was Red Wings back-to-back Stanley Cup champs with Scotty Bowman and that unbelievable crew, 97 and 98. Tampa's got a chance here, Mark, to do something really, really special. And by the way, before that, it was the Penguins again in 91, 92, and then the repeats obviously happen quite often because you had dynasties, Canadiens, Oilers, Islanders. How significant do you think in this era would it be for Tampa to not only repeat, but do you think they're going to repeat?
Well, the way Vazzy's playing and the way everybody's playing, you know, there's no reason they can't. You know, I'm going to say better because I'm biased, but they're better than every team out there. They're certainly as good as every team out there. They certainly have as good a chance as anybody. In the salary cap era, I think it's that much more significant because you can't keep everybody. You know, you look at last year's team that Kevin Shattenkirk was a big piece of that team. They couldn't keep him. Yeah. So you bring in a new guy. Ross Colton is on this team that wasn't on the team last year, and he brings an aspect that that not that they were lacking, but he just brings another piece of the puzzle. And that fourth line is just doing a great job. And the third line, you know, I think they look at it too, and we talk about it down here. And, you know, everybody's got great first line, and everybody's got a great second line, but our third and fourth line can take over games easily.
I mean, if you're in the Final Four, I've always said this, Mark, is, you know, the ingredients to winning a Stanley Cup, you know, you've got to have, obviously, the goaltender. You know, you've got to have really good special teams. Your stars have to be better than their stars, which we for sure have seen out of Tampa the last 2 years. But then that last one might be the most important one, and that's depth. And Tampa has depth. Vegas has depth. The Islanders have a ton of depth. They worked the Bruins to a T. In fact, that's why I think they won the series. You know, all these, and the Canadiens have shown that they have some depth, the last four teams remaining. Out of those four things that I mentioned, and you may have a fifth or a sixth, what one do you think stands above the others as far as being the key ingredient to winning a championship?
Well, yeah, I think, goaltending in hockey, goaltending's always been the key. You know, your goaltender has to stand on his head, and, you know, maybe a lesser team where the goalie stood on his head, they won that you didn't think that team could win. So you always look at goaltending. And again, Bazzi, you know, people say, I'll agree, that he's the best goaltender in the world.
He is.
It's a good place to start. Yep. It's a great place to start.
Sure
right?
is.
And, you know, Hurricanes were very good. It was a great team. There's sticks and lanes all the time. They, you know, didn't get too much. Tampa didn't get too many free goals, and and free shots for that matter. And yet we were able to do it. I think, and on the standpoint of, as he was better than their goalies, and obviously we've got great scoring and got our big guys going, and then got some secondary scoring as well. It's a total team effort, no doubt.
Yeah, there's no doubt. What kind of conditioning does a Vasilevsky do? What for a goalie of his caliber, his ability, size, flexibility, what's he doing from a conditioning standpoint?
Yeah, so I think I've done some, this year we had a lot of time, and I did a lot of look at data and data points and testing and things we do. A goalie's got to be super explosive. Great, a vertical jump, which, you think about, I always have to explain that a vertical jump, we don't jump up in hockey, but what that shows is an explosive nervous system. You got to have that. So you got to, when he pushes from side to side and makes that quick across and reaches and makes that save, that's explosive, that push. And that's, I tend to work a lot with our goalies on, and they do up there as well, on the push, the side to side explosive. So we might do more side to side jumps than vertical jumps, say. Certainly you need strength. You need outer hip strength again to push off. His flexibility is second to none. I mean, he could be a gymnast. He'd be up on. I wouldn't surprise me if he could do a balance beam split. because I've seen him do it on the floor. So that mobility is huge. And then I think like things that we don't see in the weight room or strength and conditioning per se, but your vision has to be your vision and reaction. You have to have great vision to be able to follow the puck and see the puck that's coming at you that fast, and then the reaction to be able to get that hand up, get that blocker up, get that leg out to the side in a split second. You make that decision almost like hitting a baseball. Yeah. It's that same kind of thing. You got a split second to make a decision where it's going to be, and you got to get something in the way. So I think that's, it's not raw strength with those guys as much as it's explosive strength. So we want to move lighter weight fast. And then again, we take into consideration our mobility and, flexibility and, then reaction and vision and things like that.
People are going to hear this podcast on Monday the 14th. The Tampa Lightning game will already have one game underway. The other series, obviously, is Vegas and the Vegas and the Canadiens. Excuse me. I wanted to just close with maybe a thought or two on the other series. I know what you think of Tampa. I know you think they're probably going to beat the Islanders. I do too. I think the Islanders are really good though. But I like Tampa, and I'm rooting for Tampa. You're rooting for Tampa, so we've got the Tampa thing covered. But do you have a thought on the other side with the Golden Knights and the Canadiens? We got the Central New York tie-in there with Alex Tuck and company. That Vegas team is that team is a locomotive too, Mark.
Right, and I think as a hockey fan and again a fan of players, Jonathan Marchessault played for us.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm a big fan. Alex, I've had the pleasure of working with in the past when he's been in town in the off season. So I love the kid. And J.W. Aiken is assistant equipment manager there. So my ties are definitely with Vegas.
And our buddy Dan Duva calling the games on radio.
Double D, yeah, absolutely, calling the games. And so we have we do have some ties to Vegas. So we'd like to see that, and then disappoint them in the finals would be probably ideal.
Yeah, so cool. And yeah, Dan is so good. I was listening to some clips that he posted on Twitter the other day. He's really amazing. He really is. Mark Powell at Boog ATC on Twitter, the longtime strength and conditioning coach, AHL, Syracuse Crunch, good friend of mine, spent 3 decades plus at ESM as an athletic trainer, a great career there as well. Mark, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the games, okay?
Thanks, Mike. You too.
The ML Sports Platter brought to you by Bryant and Stratton College. For every and in life, 2- and 4-year degrees are starting soon at Bryant and Stratton College. Get involved with the Bobcats, athletics, academics, and excellence. It's really a terrific place to go to school. And if you're in and around Central New York, hey, there's 2 great campuses to attend college at Bryant and Stratton College. James Street in the city and, of course, in Liverpool. Bryant and Stratton College is a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Thanks also to our good friend over at Mass Mutual New York State. That's Brian Comboy. Get your financial future scheduled right now. We're super happy with Brian. He has done just a world of good things for us, and he'll open your eyes to some new things, a lot of things I didn't realize. So get him on Facebook, get him on LinkedIn, advisors.massmutual.com for Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual New York State, the official financial advisor of the ML Sports Platter. I want to spend the last bit here of the show, and Mark Powell. It's funny for not being an X's and O's guy. He breaks down the game pretty good, but big thanks to him. But I want to spend a few minutes here, in closing, just kind of previewing these series again. You're going to hear this podcast on Monday, June 14th. The Lightning and Islanders will already have one game underway. That series obviously starts in Tampa. And then tonight, as you hear this, the first game will take place between the Canadiens and the Golden Knights. I can't wait for these series. I think the Stanley Cup playoffs have been the best playoff this year. I think they've been the best playoffs for a very long time in sports, period. I really applaud all these leagues for, nose to the grindstone, getting through the bubble, getting through Corona, getting through the testing, getting through all this bull crap. And here we are. I mean, we're back in the conference finals. It's going to be a little bit late. We're going to go. I mean, these games, when you think about it, you're dealing with if all these games go, the full distance, all the way plus the Stanley Cup final, we're going to be playing hockey into July. for the most part. And so that's pretty crazy. I think. I mean, I'm trying to do the quick math here. Looking Game 6, 7. Game 7, if necessary. You're looking at Friday the 25th, and then Game 7 Sunday the 26th. Yeah, we're going to go into July. I mean, we're going into July for the Stanley Cup Finals easily. So quick math on that. I just had to click through the NHL schedule. Let's start actually with the series that does start tonight as you listen to this in terms of Vegas and the Canadiens. Now look, the Canadiens, I think they've gotten a little lucky, and that's okay. You need luck sometimes this time of year. It's I'm not poo-pooing something. I'm not taking anything away from them, but they've gotten lucky. And, they went through the North Division. Their plan was not as hard as a lot of other teams. You look at Vegas, they had to get through Colorado, for example. I mean, you didn't have that. Winnipeg, no disrespect, but Winnipeg ain't Tampa. Winnipeg, it's not Vegas. They're not Colorado. They're not, one of those upper echelon teams. But having said that, the Canadiens have still played pretty solid hockey here. And, this roster is a lot better than I thought. It really is. I've been impressed with Montreal. I've been impressed with the way they skate, how quickly they get the puck into the zone. I've been impressed. I really have been. And we know that Carey Price can absolutely positively steal games at any moment. At any moment, that guy can steal games. And, you wonder what Carey Price you're going to get usually, right? But here we go. Here we go. And by the way, Montreal beat Toronto before Winnipeg. But again, Toronto, good team, but flawed team, not deep, not balanced, bad goaltending, rough on defense. They really only do one thing, and that's score with finesse. Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Austin Matthews, who's up for the Hart Memorial Trophy as the MVP of the league. Montreal won the series 4-3. Toronto blew the lead. They were up 3-1, blew the lead. So, Montreal, they've beaten a couple of good teams. But not locomotives. And now they run into one. They're going to have to take on this Vegas team that's they're a locomotive. That's what it comes down to. I like Petrie. I like Toffoli. I like their defense pairings. I really do. I like just the way they skate. Toffoli, by the way, I didn't realize he was 29 years old already, but he's really become one of the big key pieces here as a winger for this Canadian team. And it all obviously starts with the backbone of Carey Price. There's no doubt about that. But I think in order for the Canadiens to beat Vegas, they're going to have to really buckle down and be disciplined. Don't give up power plays. And can you sort of neutralize, the big three? Is it Marchessault, Tuck, and Stone? Is that the big three? Is it another three? They're so loaded. But I think they've got to neutralize, Vegas getting the puck, that power skate up the ice, where Vegas you blink and they're across. And they're big, strong, fast, physical guys just score. They just score. That's what they do. And they did it in Game 6 against Colorado. By the way, Colorado won the first two games, and then Vegas just steamrolled them. Wow. But it's going to be up to, a lot of the defensemen for this team. It's going to be up to, Weber and Petrie. It's going to be up to, a lot of these guys, these veterans who have been there, Gustafsson and company. It's going to be up to these guys. It's going to be, very important that they don't take penalties. Carey Price is going to have to perform extremely, extremely well. On the other side, You got a Hall of Famer, Marc-Andre Fleury, who's been there before. He's won multiple cups. Now he's going for another one with Vegas, right? And like, you've got that situation. You have an equal on the other side. In the other series with Toronto and Winnipeg, Hellebuck, he's a nice goalie for Winnipeg, but Price is superior. The Canadiens have had the superior goalie. Now they don't have that in against Vegas. You could make the argument, you could wash. It's a wash. You could argue one for the other, one against the other, and you'd have a good argument on both sides. But this Canadiens team's going to have to play smart. They're going to have to try to neutralize the locomotive speed of getting into the zone, and we'll see what happens in this series. Don't take penalties. Carey Price got to be A+ every game. But I think Vegas wins. I'm going to take Vegas. I think the Canadiens, I think Price can steal one somewhere. I think one game will probably be 2-2 in the third period, go to overtime, and then anything can happen where the Canadiens will get a bounce or a break, or they'll go on the power play. They'll get some kind of deflection goal. They'll win a game that way. So I think Montreal gets 2 wins. I think Vegas wins it in 6. Meanwhile, in the other series, this is what's amazing about these conference finals, folks? The styles are so contrasting, it's unbelievable in both of them. When you think about Montreal, and the way they play, neutralize, try to pick spots, and then Vegas is just a freaking, as the Spit and Chicklets guys would say, they're just a freaking wagon. The same goes for Tampa Bay. And the Islanders have done such an amazing job in this postseason, winning the battles, beating Pittsburgh, beating Boston, but winning the battles, their third and fourth lines, capitalizing in the moment and working you to death. I mean, that's really what this club does. They don't have Crosby. They don't have Malkin. They don't have McKinnon. They don't have McDavid. They don't have Austin Matthews. They don't have Ovechkin, the superstar guys. They don't have those type of players. They have a bunch of lunch bucket guys who are crushing it right now, neutralizing every team in their way. And by the way, as they're doing this, Islander fans would probably tell you, hey, we might not have those names, but it's not going to take too much longer. Josh Bailey, Barzal, Brock Nelson. Those 3 guys have been heard from. They've scored ridiculous goals. I mean, the tip play and the score that Nelson had against the Bruins, I mean, it was spectacular hand-eye coordination and ability and all the rest. I mean, insane. Just insane play. Crazy, crazy good. These guys, Barzal, Bailey, and Nelson, they've been great on the power play. They've been great in even strength. Travis Zajac. And by the way, Lou Lamoriello, is there a better builder of a team in sports, really? I mean, with what he's done through the years, I mean, this has, the old Devils written all over it, And, his ability to get, and you want me to mention another guy who's been great, Kyle Palmieri. I remember there was one time when Kyle Palmieri was the best athlete in Syracuse, New York, covering the Crunch, and I think that was actually during the time when Bryce Harper was in Central New York. Palmieri, I would have taken out of Harper. He was that good then. He's been that good through the years. What a great trade that was for Lou Lamoriello. He gets Zajac and Palmieri from the Devils, and off we go. And they're a team that's got a lot of depth, and they take away things. They work you to death. They have a lot of puck time, control time in their own zone. And then on the other side, you've got a Tampa team that's just high flying and high, freewheeling, and they're the best team in the NHL at the stretch pass. They're the best. They whether it's a defenseman and Hedman or a forward, flinging it down the ice. Whether it's Yanni Gord, on the receiving end from a pass from a winger or whatever, or Killorn or whoever, Palat, slinging it up the ice. Could be a defenseman in Victor Hedman, the best defenseman in the NHL. The stretch pass is unbelievable. The Lightning, they are like Vegas in the sense that they get up the ice quickly. that's going to be a huge thing. The Islanders taking things away, taking away space. I think the Islanders, the few keys for them is, again, like the Canadiens, don't make a lot of mistakes. Don't give them a lot of power plays. The goaltending should favor Tampa in this series. I mean, Vasilevsky is superior. I think Tampa, you could argue, no, you can't argue. They have the best goalie in Vasilevsky. They have the best defenseman in Hedman in the league. And then for forwards, when healthy, playing full year, all the rest, you could argue Kucherov, is a top, I don't think he's a top player in the NHL, but he's up there. You could argue him as a top 5, maybe even top 3 for sure in that Austin Matthews, McKinnon, McDavid, sort of area. I love David Pastrnak too. But you've got that going on. Best defenseman, best goalie, top 3, top 5 type player, Kucherov. And by the way, as far as clutch playoff performers, Braden Point might be number 1. This guy has been crushing it so far in the postseason. You look at his numbers, they're absurd. They're out of this world. He's got 8 goals in the playoffs. 8. 12 points total. Kucherov, by the way, has 18 points, 13 assists. Just his passing is absurd. Hey, you look at the roster. You can't stop these guys. Kucherov, Stamkos, Kaloran, Point, Hedman, Cirelli, Palat. Well, how about Ross Colton? I love the defense pairing of Ryan McDonough and Erik Cernak, right? Like Sergachev. You look at the deals that Steve Yzerman made, and then the front office now, and all these guys are coming to fruition. You look at the grit they picked up last year. These guys are still doing it, man. They're still doing it. Patty Maroon and the Colemans of the world. It's going to be something. So you have contrasting styles in Vegas and the Canadiens. I'm going to take Vegas in 6. And then I'm going to take Tampa Bay in 6 as well. I'm going to take them both in 6. But the way sports are, the way hockey is, it's hard to repeat for Tampa, etc. I'm not going to be surprised if the Islanders win this series. The Islanders also, remember, they've learned how to lose. They learned how to lose last year. That's going to help them this year in this series. Tampa Bay is trying to win the Stanley Cup back-to-back. And I won't be surprised if the Canadiens beat Vegas. I'm going to be more surprised, however, if the Canadiens beat Vegas than I will be the Islanders and Tampa. Because I think the Islanders are really, really, really good. I do. So, should be a fun series. Can't wait to see what is in store with these games. I will also say this in closing, that the goaltending and again, the Islanders with Lamoriello, building this roster, but they've gotten some great play out of both the Russians. Varlamov and Sorokin, they've actually had the 2 goalie system work to a T. So I'm a big fan of all 4 of these teams. I can't wait. I'm so glad Boston's out, by the way. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Contrasting styles. And by the way, the Islanders, the other thought on the goalies, too, is I think one of those guys, Sorokin, Varlamov, whoever, probably just start. Whoever starts game 1, you start riding the hot hand there. One of those guys probably has to steal a game against Tampa, like Carey Price has to against Vegas. The ML Sports Platter, thanks for listening. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review all over the major platforms like Google, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and Deezer. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L. Sports, ML Sports Platter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and be on the lookout for my 9-Minute with Mike Lindsley videos every Friday from Rosie's Corner. Pizza, wings, pasta, hot and cold subs, and more. Make sure you get to Rosie's Corner every Friday for fish as well. And my 1-minute hot takes, ML Sports takes across Facebook, Twitter, IGTV, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the platforms. We are presented by our great friend, Heather Saxton. Home is more than just a place. It's a feeling. Call Heather Saxton today, 315-727-3313. Heather at Hunt on Facebook. Heather Saxton is a licensed real estate salesperson under the Hunt umbrella. Go with her today, buying and selling homes. It's never been easier with Heather. It's stressful. It's time-consuming. She's really got the pulse of real estate in Central New York. Go with Heather Saxton today, 315-727-3313. 3313. On Facebook, Heather at Hunt. And of course, licensed real estate salesperson, she gets it done. Heather Saxton, the official real estate agent of the ML Sports Platter. Again, thanks for listening. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.